This is Rajaraja Chola's image found from the Tanjore temple, the Brihadeswara temple. This is one, and the scholars believe that he was the king himself. You can see his image, you can see his crown, his ornaments. And this is Rajendra Chola, the image of his son Rajendra Chola, which is found from Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple. And here you can see the images of different Jaina Tirthankaras, which are found from Siddhachola temple structures in Madhya Pradesh. Here is the Odishan structure. You can, this is a very beautiful image of Barahi. This is Barahi image, which is found from Chaurasi temple. This Barahi image is very beautifully decorated, very beautifully carved out from a stone, and it has the face or head of a boar and the body of a very bulky, powerful woman. In one hand, she has fish, and in the other hand, she is drinking wine. It is a very beautiful image, and this indicates the mixture of Buddhist as well as Brahmanical structure in the early part of the 8th and 9th century of Odisha, where both Buddhism and Hinduism was trying to adjust with each other. This is a beautiful image which is found from Chinnakesava temple in Karnataka. This one, Chinnakesava temple, you can see the dancers having beautiful styles, and her decoration, her makeup, and how at that time the dancers in court poets or in temple structure, they were in appearance. We can have this glimpse. This one is found from Gangaikonda Cholapuram. This is image of both male and female, concept of Ardha and Narishwara. And here is the famous Gomateswara. This is Jaina Bahubali image, one of the tallest images of India, and it is a single piece stone image dedicated to the Jaina saints. It is found at Sravana Belagola of Karnataka. It is 57 feet image, and it is still present, and it is a very beautiful place to visit. You can see here this one, the Buddha's image. It is found from Ratnagiri in Odisha. You know, in Odisha, particularly in Jajpur district, you can find different places, but only 3 places which are very beautifully prepared, that is Ratnagiri, Lohitagiri and Udayagiri. And you can find this Buddha image, big Buddha images are there, very tall Buddha images, different type of Buddhist and images we can find from Lohitagiri, Ratnagiri and Udayagiri. Very small image from 2 to 3 inches to colossal figures of 10 to 12 feet images, which are preserved at the sides as well as in the museums, which are now constructed to preserve thousands of images of these places. This is the Nandi image. The Nandi image, the bull, that is the Bahana, you can call of God Lord Shiva. This big, tall and robust Nandi images are found in most of the temples in Tamil Nadu. And this is, when we talk about images, these are all made up of stones. But here you can find in Chola temple, Tanjore, the painting of that period, where you can find how the people were worshipping different god and goddesses. You can see their dresses, their headgears. These are the you can find the cloth ornamentation, and these give information. There are a lot of images, pictures, and you can get a lot of information of that period. This is the bronze images of Chola period. These images, this is a women image, this is of the image of Ganesha, and this is Nataraja. You know, Nataraja is very famous in South India. There are other images. In Khajuraho temple, you know, you can find this type of temple. These temple images are mostly erotic figures. Almost all the images are found are all erotic figures, and they give a very larger impression about the period when there is a conflict between different religious sects. Here you can find from our Lingaraj temple, it is known as Sura Sundari. Sura means divine damsel. The divine damsel who is depicted of a stone in Lingaraj temple. Here is you can see the head of a Buddha found from Loitagiri. Such a big head, not this one, you can find many such type of big head images of Lord Buddha, and you can see how expressive his eyes, his face, and how the artist tried to express how the Buddha should be properly represented through the sculptural art. The sculptors of Odisha excelled in making images of different gods and goddesses of Jainism, Buddhism and Hinduism. Apart from temples and other images, you can find the Buddhist Viharas and Rajput forts. The Buddhist Viharas are mostly present where the kings were Buddhists, particularly the Pala rulers and Bhaumakara, Odisha Bhaumakara rulers. At that time, the Palas supported Mahayana Buddhism, and they constructed monasteries or viharas. There are big viharas known as Mahaviharas, and these viharas became universities of international status. That is, the Nalanda was present since the time of the Gupta, and they became the Nalanda University became very prominent center of learning during the time of Harshavardhana, when the Huensang, the celebrated Chinese traveler, came to study here. This Nalanda University was also supported by the Pala rulers. The Palas ruled over Bengal, present day Bangladesh, some part of Odisha, and also whole Bihar. Then they have a university at Udantapura near Nalanda. Another was Vikramshila near Bhagalpur. Another was at Jagadala, is now in Bangladesh. So Bihars are big in style. At present we can found a big Bihara known as Mahavihara at Somapura. Somapura now is now Bangladesh. This is the Loitagiri Bihara. In Odisha, Loitagiri, Ratnagiri, Udayagiri, we have also Biharas. If you go to, you can see big structures where you find there were residential houses for the scholars, there were meeting halls, there were spaces for gatherings, and you can find the whole system was very beautifully constructed, where the scholars can discuss philosophy and religious matters freely without any difficulties. This is Ratnagiri Bihar's gate. This is Somapura Mahavihar of Pala. This is Udantapura University, and here it is Vikramashila University, and here is your Ratnagiri Vihara. The Ratnagiri Vihara is present now, and you can go and visit it, and you can get lot of information about the condition of Buddhism during the time of Somavansis or Bhaumakaras or Somavansis. Next we will go to Rajput forts. This period also witnessed the birth and growth of many Rajput dynasties. There were Chauhanas, there were Tomars, there were Rathors, there were Guhilas. The different clans, they ruled over different areas from your Rajasthan up to Bihar. In the course of time, they became very powerful, warlike, and very brave people, and the people feel proud that at that time the Rajput heroes, they tried to save India from foreign invasions. They constructed forts. The most important fort which was built at that time was Chittor Fort. Chittor Fort was now present, but the earliest fort was may not be what is now the present fort, but the Chittor Fort was the first fort. It was one of the most impregnable forts of India at that time, and This fort is famous for different heroes. You know, that is your Rana Sangram Singh, Rana Pratap, they were related to this fort. But it was first the Guhilas, they constructed this fort. This fort is Ranthambore fort, Ranthambore, Ranastambhapura, Ranthambore fort. It is also a very important fort of the Rajputs. And this is Jaisalmer fort. These are now present. Many people do visit these places every year to see how the forts of that period were constructed, because the forts became the important centers of military advancements. Now we will go to coins. In ancient and medieval period, even in modern period also, coins form an important source of history. Coins provide lot of information about the time when they were mint. Coins were made in different metals, particularly gold coins, silver coins and copper coins are available. If the scholars believe, if you can find lot of gold coins of a particular ruler of a dynasty, then at that time the financial situation was very good. Coins also have certain insignias on two sides. In some coins you can find the insignias or the symbol of the royal dynasties on the faces of the coins, and also you can find the images of different gods and goddesses, and though then you can get that impression that what type of religion the kings were following during their period. The coins also provide information about the weight and measures, how the weight and measures formula were continued during that period. You can get impression from the coins. These Pala coins, you can see the Pala coins, Mohipala first, and these Pala coins you can get impression from, you see the images were there. So this indicates that they were Buddhists. And you can find this one, this is the Prithviraj Chauhan, the coins made by Prithviraj Chauhan. This is Gujjar Pratihara coins. The Gangas of Odisha also, they also issued these small gold coins. These coins were known as phanams. Phanams are found from Angul, Katak and Sonpur. These coins bear South Indian influence. Some gold coins have been also found in Karnataka. These known as phanams. Now we will come to another important source of early medieval Indian history is inscriptions. We know that in ancient period also there were inscriptions, but here the inscriptions are plenty in number. The inscriptions are found on the walls of the temples. The rulers who built temples or patronized the construction of the temples, they placed inscriptions and the inscriptions are bilingual mostly. Sometimes they have a single language, that is in Sanskrit. Then the kings of different areas, they also inscribed this literature on the stones which are also of their local languages. The Hindu and Buddhist kings prepared numerous inscriptions in Sanskrit and the respective regional languages and placed on the walls of temples, caves, etc. These inscriptions, besides these inscriptions, we can also get information, lot of information, charters. The kings issued charters, the edicts or the royal orders which are found from seals, from the grants, and these grants are found from copper plates, from other plates, and these royal edicts, these charters, they also contain a lot of information, and thankfully during this period we can get a lot of charters, lot of informations in which the kings allotted lands, the kings allotted resources to Brahmin scholars, to villages, to the temples, to different royal as well as military administrators. That gives a lot of information about the society, and it is believed that the land grants give impression that the period was mostly feudal in nature, where lot of lands were given as a land grants to beneficiaries, and this made a lot of burden on the farmers. These are the inscriptions. This is our Kannada script inscription. These are the inscriptions. You see the bilingual inscription, both Sanskrit and Kannada language can be found. This is Rashtrakuta inscription, Amoga Varsha, the king. He has the inscription at Birabhadra temple in Kumsi. And the Bellu temple inscription, here it is written in Sanskrit and old Kannada script. The Paras was also issued inscriptions, and this is the Para script inscription, Uttar Merur inscription, issued by the Cholas, particularly during 907 to 950 AD. Parantaka Chola fast to Kulotunga Chola fast inscriptions were made, and these particular inscription give lot of information about the rural self-governance, the village system of administration, which was enjoying autonomy, and that was one of the big informations which we can get from this inscription of the Cholas. Now we come to the end of the system. We have discussed that what were the sources, particularly archaeological sources of early medieval Indian history. We know that this chapter is a very interesting one. It helps us to come across the different sources of history, how India was at that time, and how the society was, how the religious life was, and how different dynasties ruled over different areas. They have their geographical expressions which are very much accurate. At last, I can say that as the scholars of history, as the students of history, we should not have carried away by these sources, whether it is literary source or archaeological source. We should not be carried away, because the sources are written, the sources are produced according to the spirit of their time, and the scholars or the people or the artists who produced, who created these sources, they were definitely influenced by their patrons or their own personal whims. So it is our duty to realize and understand and to have comparative studies of different sources, and then we can find that what is the truth. The history always believes in truth, and historians also believe that these sources are there. The scholars must have very good training, impartial mind, and also must have acumen to understand what type of source be used as sources of history to construct a larger history of India. Thank you very much.